Hey everyone! I showed you guys how to make some air drying paper clay, so this week I wanted to show you some projects that you could make with it. In this video I'll show you how to make a simple dish that you can use as a catch-all for coins, keys, jewelry, anything like that, and then I'll also be showing you how to make a lidded vessel. Alright, let's get started. To make the simple shallow catch-all dish, you'll need paper clay, a bowl, plastic wrap, baby oil, craft paint, optional epoxy resin. Line the inside of your bowl with plastic wrap. Coat your hands in baby oil and take a chunk of paper clay and shape it into a rough disc. The baby oil helps to keep the clay from sticking to your hands. Place it into the bowl and squish it around, flattening it, thinning it into more of a bowl shape. Alternatively, you can roll it out to the desired thickness and then place into the bowl. The advantage of this is that you can cut it to a certain shape before you place it into the bowl, and I'll show you an example of this later in the video. Set it aside to dry. Once it's dry on the outside, take it out of the bowl, remove the plastic wrap, flip the bowl over, and place the paper clay bowl onto it. Let it dry again. After about a day, it's dry and time to decorate. If you don't like how wrinkly or bumpy it came out, you can sand it down to remove the wrinkles and bumps, but I didn't mind them, so I left it as is. I sprayed my bowl with a base of silver spray paint, and then once that was dry, I used a dark purple acrylic paint to paint the inside, and then used a paper towel to remove the excess paint. Then I used a paper towel to lightly dab in a lighter pink. This helped to accentuate the roughness of the inside of the bowl, which is what I wanted for the paint. I kind of wanted to mimic the inside of a glazed ceramic bowl, so to do that I coated the inside with epoxy resin. I mixed up a little more than I thought I needed because I wanted it to pool in the bottom to create a flat surface. Old medicine measuring cups are perfect for this. I always have a bunch of these sitting around, and it's super easy to measure out 2 parts exactly because they have the measurements on them. If you use epoxy resin, be sure to mix it very well. If you don't, your epoxy might not cure correctly and you could have a sticky mess. So I poured the epoxy into the bowl and tilted the bowl around to let the epoxy run all along the inside. The stuff I used cures pretty slowly, so I went back every 15 minutes or so and repeated this process to make the epoxy layer up on the edges of the bowl nice and thick. Once it's cured, it's all done. I kind of like how it looks like the stuff is sort of floating in this bowl because the bottom epoxy layer is so thick. Here's an example of the bowl that I rolled out first and cut to shape before I put it in the bowl to shape it. I ended up painting it with matte white craft paint and then the awesome liquid gold paint that I love so much. And now it's on to the lidded vessel. You'll need paper clay, baby oil, masking tape, newspaper, a Sharpie, an X-Acto knife, glue, and paint. Crumple up the newspaper to create a shape you'd want for your vessel. Alternatively, you could use a balloon if you wanted it to be just simple and round. Wrap up the crumpled newspaper with masking tape like so. First, you need to create the base shape. So again, coat your hands with baby oil and take some clay and start spreading it over the newspaper masking tape form. Try to make sure it's covered as evenly as possible, and set it aside to dry. I balanced mine on this roll of plumber's tape. Once dry, you can start adding your details. You can see here I got a little indentation from the roll of plumber's tape, but I just covered it with more paper clay. I had the idea of making mine look like Totoro, so I added legs and a tail to the bottom to help stabilize it, and then I added his arms and his ears and set it aside to dry. And of course, I had to add in his little leaf umbrella. I made this separately so that I could paint it completely and then attach it later. If you just want to make a simple vessel, you could just add some clay to the bottom to help stabilize it, and then add a handle for the lid at the top. Let it dry completely. If you so desire, sand your vessel to smooth it out. Use a Sharpie to make a mark evenly around the vessel. And then use your X-Acto knife to cut along this line. This will separate it into the lid and into the body. Carefully pull the pieces apart and remove the newspaper and masking tape from the insides. You'll find the inside is probably a little wet, so let them dry out before continuing on. The edges of mine were looking pretty rough, so I used some more paper clay to smooth them out. Let it dry again and sand smooth. Now roll a long snake of paper clay and stick it around the inside edge of the body part of the vessel. Pinch it a bit thinner to make it stick up like so. This creates a lip that helps to keep the lid in place. Let it dry, and if needed, you can sand it a bit until the lid fits on nicely. Once it's all dry, you can decorate. Obviously, you can decorate it however you want, but as I said earlier, I'm making this one look like Totoro, so I painted it accordingly. And here he is, all complete. I hope you all enjoyed this project. If you did, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. I post DIY videos every Thursday. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Pinterest, and I'll leave the information to those down below. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week.